Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Hope you doing having a well day. Well, this is another part of the video, and this time it's I'm starting with sun. This commentary will talk about sundown towns, and it's another one from the past to the present, and show you where. And if you're a black person, you want to take note if you live in a rural area.
TSA
I'll
PreCheck
tell you
has
on the
always
snippet
been a
video.
great option for travelers who want to save time and enjoy smoother trips.
Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, y'all, the chickens have come home to roost. A sundown county in Georgia now wants to be known as a place of love. So see, sometimes you just have to leave people alone. A Georgia county that once expelled all black residents now wants to be a model of love. And when they say they expelled them, that means that if they didn't get out of town, they ended up under the ground. And for anybody who might have stumbled onto this channel and doesn't know what a sundown town is, a sundown town in America is a town where black people are not allowed to stay in after sundown. You can go in there and work or deliver or whatever you have to do in that town. But come sundown, you have to be gone. And there were many all over this country, not just in the South. When Derwin Sneed moved to Forsyth County, Georgia in 1989, he was struck by the lack of diversity in the region, just 30 miles north of Atlanta. It was a pretty much completely white county, said Sneed, who is white and was a pastor at the time. According to the 1990 census, of the 44,083 people who lived in Forsyth County, 43,573 were white, close to 99%, and just 14 were black. It was a place, Sneed said, where generations of families typically lived their entire lives. It was also a place with a deep and complex history of racial violence. In 1912, a small population of black residents, dozens of whom were land and business owners, were violently expelled from the county, their livelihoods stripped from them. 3 black men were lynched, and the remaining black residents were ordered to leave and told never to return. Now get this. Those black people own businesses, they own land. It's always a reason to take something from black people. Usually some white woman involved that most of the black people don't even know. But it's just an excuse to take from black people. For many black Georgians, even those unaware of the details of that incident, it's universally understood to generally avoid the county. And I'm going to digress for just a minute, and I want to say that when you have a sundown town like that, and those people stay isolated and insulated from everybody else, it takes a toll on them too. I taught at a middle school in Georgia, in Walton County, which was one county south of Forsyth County. Occasionally, we would have children from Forsyth County enroll in our school. Those children were so different from our students. Now, my school in Walton County was 98% white, but those children from Forsyth County didn't even look like the white children in Walton County. They were pale, their personalities were nondescript. They didn't have any social skills. Now, I know that wasn't all of them. I'm sure all of them didn't act like that. But the few that came to our school did. There was a noticeable difference between them and the children in our school. I fundamentally believe that racism takes a toll on you. But back to the article. The history of Forsyth County is literally a case study of racism in American history, said Nafessa H. Muhammad, an associate professor of history at Spelman College in Atlanta. The fact that most black people do not know about Forsyth's history or are told to stay away, ironically perpetuates social segregation and delays rectification. Well, you're going to stay away from a sundown town if people will kill you for being there. And in the case of Forsyth, it's a sundown county. More than a century later, 1/3 of Forsyth's residents are non-white, but less than 5% of the county is black, a figure that's been stagnant for decades. Yet the numbers alone, some residents say, don't tell the full story of present-day Forsyth County. Well, there are so many nice places in Atlanta, in and around Atlanta, that black people can live, that they don't have to go through the ignorance of dealing with people in a sundown county. So apparently now somebody's trying to go back and fix it. So a key chapter in the story of Forsyth County is an attempt by Snead and a group of pastors to reshape the county's history by establishing a college scholarship program in 2022 for descendants of black families who were violently expelled 110 years ago. Well, they should be seeking more than a scholarship. They should be trying to get their land back. The founders are clear that the scholarships are not reparations, a word many in the community would consider divisive, but instead an act of love, an acknowledgement of past harms in the hope of fostering a positive path forward. But see, the fact that they would see reparations as divisive would be enough for me to know these people are not serious. In 1912, Forsyth County was home to about 12,000 residents, including 1,098 black people scattered throughout the county. But that September, an 18-year-old white woman named May Crow was brutally assaulted, blooded, and left unconscious in a wooded area. She eventually died from her injuries, and 3 young black men, the only black people in that part of the county at the time, were accused of killing her, with little evidence other than a coerced confession from one of them. So see, that's another case of a white person doing something to another white person, but a black person having to pay the price for it. And white women are used over and over and over again in these tragedies, being used to justify white men doing something that they wanted to do all along. One of the men, 24-year-old Rob Edwards, was arrested and jailed only to be dragged from his cell the following day by a mob of angry white residents. He was allegedly hitched to the back of a wagon with a noose around his neck, driven to the downtown square incoming, and hung from a telephone pole as onlookers took turn riddling his lifeless body with bullets. 2 black men, Ernest Knox, 16, and Oscar Daniel, 18, were also hanged after one-day trial. The other black residents of the county were threatened with death if they did not leave, as night riders posted letters. Night riders are the Ku Klux Klan, by the way. They posted letters warning of the impending terror. Within 3 weeks, the black population in Forsyth ceased to exist. Many were forced to leave everything they had worked hard to attain behind without anything in return. Yeah, that's what it was all about anyway. They wanted to take those black people's land and their businesses and whatever else they had. That's what it was all about. Still, racial animus and violence was not confined to 1912, as residents enforced its ban on black residents. Now listen to this. A group of black children and their counselors went camping at Lake Lanier in Forsyth in 1968. After sundown, a group of white men reportedly surrounded them, yelling racial slurs until they left. In 1980, a black firefighter was shot in the head after nightfall by 2 white men while attending a company picnic. Much of this history was buried in newspaper clippings until a civil rights march was met by a KKK march in 1987. Oprah Winfrey brought national attention to the area that year, highlighting the county where no black person had lived for 75 years. In 2016, author and former county resident Patrick Phillips published Blood at the Root, A Racial Cleansing in America, which chronicled the expulsion and how, despite thousands of witnesses to the lynchings of the 3 men, no one was held accountable for their death. So there goes your Justice Department investigation. Because of this, Phillips said he believes the harm has never truly ended. The effects of the 1912 expulsions are not over, not buried in the past, but ongoing, as African American descendants continue to lose out on all that suburban wealth generation, and as the perpetrators' descendants continue to profit from it. Yeah, make America great again. Since Oprah Winfrey came to Forsyth, change has been slow but steady, according to SNED. Population growth over the last 30 years has introduced Asian and Hispanic Americans to the region, as well as new cuisines and customs. SNED said that this shift has allowed a market shift in mindsets on how to talk about the past. I'm encouraged by how many people are really embracing the discussion and realizing that truth is a good thing, he said, while acknowledging that not everyone is ready for change in the same way. If they think those people are going to change because some Asians and Hispanics moved in, they got another thought coming. The racism that these other groups experience with them will be different than the racism black people experience, but those people do not change fast. Forsyth County is where Tamla Horsford died. Many think she was killed. She was up there partying with a bunch of white women having a sleepover, which means she was there after sundown. She was Jamaican, so it's possible that she didn't know about the history of that time. Nobody really knows what happened to her. It's possible that they pulled some kind of a sundown county prank on her. All we know is that she ended up dead. A historical marker erected in 2021 now sits in downtown Cumming, where Edwards was hanged, acknowledging what took place there over a century ago. A new elementary school named New Hope opened up in 2022, honoring more than a dozen former African American schools in the region. More than 12 schools in that region. A group of volunteers restored Talbot Street Cemetery, the site of an African American burial ground and Methodist church established in 1871. They don't have any problem destroying our churches and schools and children and anybody. Phillips sees these developments as laudable steps toward progress. Still, he says, more can be done. So he thinks somebody ought to applaud them for doing some little nanny goat type thing. Oh my goodness, this is So their answer to everything that's been done to black people is to give out scholarships. Something that you could get on your own if you really wanted it. A college education is attainable to you if you want it. And when they give out these scholarships, they have so many stipulations that when they take it from you and give it to a white person, they can say, well, he missed 3 days of class or some nonsense like that. But black people are moving back into Forsyth County. My cousin lives in Johns Creek, which is 2 doors down from Forsyth County, but still in Fulton County. And black people are going back and forth into Forsyth County. Some black people just decide, I'm going up there, I don't care what they say. But as for me, no, they can have it. So for all of the damage that was done to that black community, they think giving out scholarships is something to be applauded. Y'all let me know what you think about the video.
Interesting. It doesn't stop there, because it's another rural area in America that experienced the same thing.
Especially when it comes to stock. That's what.
America never changed. Throws a band-aid on it. Her video says warning to black America in rural areas. So if you black and you live in a rural area, you better be careful. According to her video.
Something with you. I want you all to look at this of what's going on, especially with these threats that people have put out there. They are threatening, saying that they will do certain things if he doesn't win. They're saying that there will be a BLOOD bath, that there's going to be a civil WAR. And you know who they are taking aim at. I want to show y'all what's going on with this family right here. And we want to keep them in our prayers. So this family right here, their channel is called Tiffany's Farm. And what they are experiencing right now is right here. Go look at this video right here. It says trespassing, harassment, stalking in rural Georgia, and threats. If you listen at the video, you'll hear all of the details of what they are experiencing. These little shots that you see on the screen, these are what their trail cams have picked up. These are the people that are trespassing on their land, These people, is a lot of them, trespassing on this family's property. And I'm pretty sure they have signs saying that no trespassing, private property, whatever. I'm pretty sure that they have something to indicate that this is private property. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, people don't care about that. Now notice the caption on her video. She says, "We can't stop them. We can't stop them." Now let me go to some of the, let's just go to the actual video. She's actually talking about what's going on in detail. So let me get that volume down before it comes on, okay? This is sad. It reminds me of that family in Colorado and so many others. I remember there was a young woman in, I believe it was Ohio, years ago, where these people were threatening her big time. She was on camera crying, and she had to leave. So they put here, they said during the last two videos, many have commented on how they can handle the negativity that Dad and she have been experiencing with these people who cross over their neighbor's property in the area where he and his associates have been seen. We have experienced missing survey markers and damage to our cattle fence. Good advice was given to her dad and her by many you who are attorneys and part of law enforcement. I am using this video as a teachable opportunity to share all of your suggestions with people who are looking for help and experiencing similar issues. So the video has markers where you can they're talking about what the game warden said, document everything, security cameras, restraining orders, purple paint law. I remember that one. Hog rings for posted signs, police scanner app, guard animals, Second Amendment, of course, and tell everyone. So I want y'all to look at the video. Look at the video yourself. The name of the channel. Let me shrink this down a little bit. And make sure you all were able to even see it on there. Okay, let me shrink it down a little bit so you can see the name of the channel.
How do you become more like Christ? And the stunner is, you don't. You don't. Not in your nature. Now again, let's not do the mash.
Now we went through something similar years ago. Okay, so now you can see that better. Tiffany's Farm. We went through something similar years ago, many years ago, when we lived much further out than where we are now. We experienced these people just walking on our property when they got ready to. No permission granted, none of that. They just felt like they had a right to, right? Even with our gate closed, we had the purple paint. We knew about that as well. They would walk around through the trees on somebody else's property and come through the trees onto our property to come up to our door. And this was them saying, look, I don't care what you do. I don't care about your closed fence. If I can find a way on here, I don't respect your rights. I don't respect your ownership of this property. I don't respect any of that. That's what that means to me when they were doing this to us. That was pretty much them telling us that they don't respect us as so-called black people. And many of them feel like they can do whatever they want to do. My brother Raphael, he said he's spoken to a white boy in Georgia that's waiting for the race WAR. He says, I was the only so-called black at the company. Was very uncomfortable back in 2021. So they're waiting for it. They want it. And I've always said this. The race WAR started a long time ago when they came to the shores of Africa to take us. Huh? I've always said that. And it hasn't stopped. They're just trying to make it seem like this is something new. Now, even though there's a presidential election, they want to try to make it out to be something different that they're talking about. They feel like their rights are being violated. They want their country back. It amazes me how somebody could take something from somebody else and then make a declaration that they want their country back when anybody gets ahead just a little bit. Now, what this young family is going through is terrible. You can't imagine the fear that they must feel being surrounded by people like that who can't stand you. As I was looking at the video, they have camera after camera that's picking these people up, just out there, just walking in the woods. You got your butt out there just walking, and you want them to know. That's the tripped out thing about it. They want to intimidate. That's a dirty, rotten nature. You have to understand that a person who thinks and acts like that has a rottenness in their soul that cannot be fixed with anything earthly. This is going to take the Most High, and He has already made His determination on how He's going to fix things. Oh, yes, He has. Yes, we've got to talk about these things because our people need to be aware of what's going on out here. I don't know if y'all heard about what's going on in Colorado. There's a town in city in Colorado that they said has been completely taken over. So there's some folk getting a bit upset right now. This election period got them all stirred up with all kinds of dirt in their hearts. And you know they're not going to aim it at their own. But it's not for us to fear, it's for us to fortify. What this family is going through is terrible. Now it's a mother and a father, a father and a daughter situation. Sometimes I wish our people could stack up a little better. You know, I do wish we could do that. But you're either dealing with a situation where you have folk who don't want to live in the country, don't want the work that's involved with being in the country, or they themselves can't be trusted. Otherwise, it would be awesome if you could say, hey, come and park your RV here. Hey, come and park your tiny home here. Hey, come and park your cabin here. We'll look out for each other. That would be awesome. But why do our people make it so difficult to even make those kinds of decisions? Because in times like these, you would think that we would try to unify a lot better. That we would try to get ourselves in order. That we would lay aside the shenanigans. You would think that that's how things would be. But instead, too many times our people dig themselves in deeper into wickedness, foolishness, and rottenness as well. Acting no different than these other folk. I really feel for this family and what they're going through. Because this is terrible. This is terrible that they even have to go through this. I believe what Brother Raphael is saying too. He's saying Hispanics are feeling a way about us. Esau has strategized when using other groups against us. I believe that. It trips me out how some of our folk think that they're going to have some type of brotherhood or camaraderie with some of these Hispanics, but many of them are on the side of these other folk because everybody think that's the winning side because of what they've seen for so long. They feel like that's the winning side, but we need to be on the side of the Most High. And we need to send up some prayers. We need to stay prayed up because greater is He that is in us than he that is in the world. The Bible also says that if Yah be for you, He is more than the world against you. If Yah be for you, who can be against you?
The U.S. is one of the most diverse countries in the world, but surprisingly, racism is still very common in some cities. Many historical events support this claim, and we believe it's important to keep you informed so you can make better decisions. Welcome to our channel, where we explore different places around the world. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update from us. In today's video, we will share with you the 8 most racist cities in the United States, so make sure to watch till the end. Without further delay, let's check out the list. Number 8, Berkeley, California. In Berkeley, California, a city renowned for its progressive ideals and historical role in the free speech movement, a disturbing trend has emerged amidst its liberal facade. A significant uptick in anti-Semitic incidents and attacks targeting Jewish students at UC Berkeley. Despite its reputation for tolerance and activism, Berkeley has witnessed a startling 360% increase in anti-Semitic attacks since October 7th, marking a troubling escalation in hate-driven violence within the community. The campus environment, traditionally a bastion of activism and inclusivity, has become a focal point of tension during protests concerning international conflicts involving Israel and Palestine. What began as passionate demonstrations for political causes has morphed into alarming incidents of harassment, vandalism, and physical assaults specifically targeting Jewish students. Many of these students, caught in the crossfire of geopolitical tensions, have found themselves unfairly singled out and subjected to vitriolic attacks simply for their perceived identity. The national spotlight has turned towards UC Berkeley, along with 5 other universities, as authorities and educational bodies investigate these incidents of anti-Semitism. The House Education Committee has launched inquiries into the campus climate and safety measures, underscoring the seriousness with which these issues are being addressed at a federal level. Simultaneously, the U.S. Department of Education's Civil Rights Office has initiated its investigations to ensure compliance with anti-discrimination laws and to safeguard the rights of all students on campus. Beyond the immediate impact on campus life, these developments have sparked a broader societal dialogue on the limits of free speech, the rise of hate speech, and the responsibilities of educational institutions in fostering inclusive environments. Berkeley, long seen as a beacon of progressive values, now faces a critical moment of introspection and action as it grapples with how to confront and mitigate the spread of anti-Semitic sentiments within its community. For the Jewish community at UC Berkeley and beyond, these incidents have not only threatened their physical safety, but have also raised profound concerns about their sense of belonging and acceptance in a city historically celebrated for its diversity and tolerance. As Berkeley navigates this complex terrain of social justice and community harmony, the challenge remains to uphold its ideals of inclusivity while combating the resurgence of bigotry that threatens to tarnish its reputation as a sanctuary for all voices and identities. Number 7. Bellingham, Washington. Bellingham, Washington, nestled in the picturesque Cascade Mountains and known for its serene beauty, has a darker history marred by racial tensions and violence. The city gained notoriety primarily due to the Bellingham riots of 1907, a tragic episode in which white workers violently targeted South Asian immigrants. On September 4, 1907, tensions boiled over as white workers, feeling threatened by the presence of Asian immigrants in the local labor market, stormed into lumber mills, forcibly removed South Asian workers from their jobs, and ransacked their living quarters. This vicious outburst of xenophobic aggression culminated in driving out the entire Asian community from Bellingham, leaving them displaced and traumatized. Over a century later, Bellingham continues to grapple with racial discord, evidenced by recent incidents of hate crimes targeting Asians. In 2023, 4 teenagers were arrested for alleged hate crimes after following and assaulting a man of Asian descent on his way home from work. The attackers reportedly used their t-shirts to whip him and threw rocks at him, highlighting the persistence of racial animosity in the community. These troubling events underscore the enduring legacy of racism in Bellingham. Despite its reputation as a progressive city in the Pacific Northwest, the historical anti-Asian sentiment, manifested in the 1907 riots and echoed in contemporary hate crimes, serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by minority communities in seeking acceptance and safety within the city. As Bellingham confronts its past and present struggles with racism, the community remains at a crossroads, striving to reconcile its scenic charm with the need for greater racial justice and inclusivity. Number 6. Utqiagvik, Barrow, Alaska. Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, Alaska, stands as one of the northernmost cities in the United States, characterized by its stark beauty and remote location. However, beneath its tranquil Arctic exterior lies a complex and often painful history of racial tensions. Unlike many other parts of the country, where racism typically involves minority groups being targeted by a white majority, Utqiagvik presents a unique case where Native Alaskans have harbored deep-seated animosities towards white residents, stemming from historical grievances and perceived injustices. These tensions date back generations, rooted in the colonial era when white settlers arrived in Alaska, disrupting the traditional ways of life for Native communities. In Utqiagvik, These historical wounds have manifested in various forms of discrimination and harassment against white residents. Although whites make up only about 21.8% of the population, they often find themselves targets of hostility. This ongoing friction is evident in the reports from students at local schools who have experienced harassment and a general sense of being unwelcome. The Native Alaskan community, which comprises 57.2% of Utqiagvik's population, has had to contend with the legacy of colonization, which has left enduring scars. Many Native Alaskans still view the presence of whites through a lens colored by historical trauma, seeing them as invaders who disrupted their ancestral lands and ways of life.
It doesn't seem to make sense that fitness coaches with less than 1 year of experience on the gym floor are able to take the skills of.
This perspective has perpetuated a cycle of resentment and, in some cases, overt acts of discrimination. The violence has not been merely symbolic. There have been instances where white individuals have been physically attacked, and the overall climate of tension has led to a palpable sense of unease among the non-native residents. These incidents underscore a broader societal issue, where historical grievances continue to shape present-day interactions, making it difficult for communities to move toward reconciliation. Utqiagvik's situation illustrates the complexities of race relations in America, showing that racism and discrimination can take many forms and affect various groups. The challenge for Utqiagvik lies in addressing these deep-rooted issues, fostering mutual understanding, and working towards a more inclusive community where all residents, regardless of their racial or ethnic background, can coexist peacefully. Number 5. Honolulu, Hawaii. Honolulu, Hawaii, often romanticized as a tropical paradise and a melting pot of cultures, harbors a harsh reality for its indigenous population. Despite the city's vibrant diversity and the fact that Asians hold the majority, Native Hawaiians find themselves disproportionately affected by systemic issues such as homelessness, violence, and other forms of discrimination. One of the most glaring indicators of this disparity is the chronic homelessness crisis in Honolulu. Native Hawaiians, who make up only 8% of the city's population, represent a staggering 28% of its homeless population. This disproportionate figure highlights the severe socioeconomic challenges faced by Native Hawaiians, who struggle with access to affordable housing, employment opportunities, and social services. Violence against Native Hawaiian women and girls is another critical issue plaguing the community. They experience violence at rates significantly higher than their population size would suggest. Over a quarter of missing girls in Hawaii are Native Hawaiian, underscoring the community's vulnerability to violence and exploitation. These troubling statistics paint a picture of a population marginalized and at risk, often overlooked in broader discussions about public safety and justice. The perception of Hawaii as a racial utopia contributes to the erasure of Native Hawaiian struggles. This idealized view masks the systemic racism and socioeconomic inequities that persist in the islands. Native Hawaiians frequently face discrimination in various forms, whether in the job market, educational institutions, or interactions with law enforcement. These issues are compounded by a historical context of colonization and displacement, which continues to affect Native Hawaiian communities today. As Honolulu grapples with these complex social issues, the need for a more inclusive approach that addresses the specific challenges faced by Native Hawaiians becomes increasingly urgent. The city's diverse population should be a strength, but this diversity must be accompanied by equity and justice for all its residents, particularly the indigenous population that has historically borne the brunt of systemic inequality. Before we continue with the next 4 racist cities in the United States, kindly subscribe to our channel if you have not done so. This means so much to us. Thank you. Number 4. Glendale, California. Glendale, California, situated in the San Fernando Valley, offers a striking example of how historical racial injustices continue to shape present-day demographics and social dynamics. This city, now home to nearly 200,000 people, harbors a deeply troubling past as a sundown town, a place where black people were explicitly unwelcome after dark, enforced through intimidation and violence. This dark chapter in Glendale's history has left lasting racial imbalances that are still evident today. The legacy of Glendale's sundown town status is starkly reflected in its current demographics. Despite being a suburb of Los Angeles, one of the most diverse cities in the United States, Glendale's population remains predominantly white, with white residents making up nearly 63% of the city's population. In contrast, black residents constitute a mere 1.7%, illustrating the enduring impact of historical exclusionary practices. This racial imbalance speaks volumes about the lingering effects of systemic racism and the barriers to integration that persist even decades after formal segregation ended. Adding to this history of exclusion is Glendale's troubling association with the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist groups. For many years, the city was a hub for the American Nazi Party and the KKK, with these groups holding rallies and spreading their hateful ideology well into the 1980s. This notoriety as a center of white supremacist activity further entrenched racial divisions and made the city a symbol of resistance to civil rights progress. The practices of racial exclusion in Glendale persisted into the late 20th century, with some residents reporting that sundown town policies unofficially lasted until the 1990s. This extended period of racial hostility and segregation has left deep scars on the community, making it difficult for marginalized groups to establish a sense of belonging and security in the city. Today, Glendale is working to confront and move beyond its racist past. Efforts to promote diversity and inclusion are ongoing, with local organizations and community leaders striving to create a more equitable and welcoming environment for all residents. However, the shadows of its history are not easily dispelled, and the city must continue to address the systemic issues that have long marginalized minority communities. In short, Glendale, California, with its history as a sundown town and a hotspot for KKK activity, exemplifies the enduring impact of historical racism on contemporary society. The city's demographic imbalances and ongoing challenges in fostering true inclusivity serve as a reminder of the persistent need for vigilance and proactive measures to combat racial injustice and promote equality for all. Number 3. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a city known for its scenic beauty and outdoor recreation, carries a heavy burden of a deeply entrenched racist history. This history is indelibly marked by its association with the Aryan Nations, a notorious white supremacist group that established its headquarters in nearby Hayden Lake during the 1970s. The group's presence in the area attracted a wave of young recruits and fostered a climate of intolerance and hate that has left a lasting stain on the community. The Aryan Nations held annual gatherings and public demonstrations in Coeur d'Alene, spreading their ideology of white supremacy and inciting racial animosity. This era saw the city become a symbol of hate, attracting negative national attention and casting a long shadow over its reputation. Even though the Aryan Nations compound was eventually dismantled, and legal actions in the early 2000s led to the bankruptcy and downfall of the group, the echoes of its hateful legacy persist. Recent events indicate that the undercurrents of this history are far from dormant. In March 2024, Coeur d'Alene made headlines again when a visiting Utah basketball team experienced severe racial harassment, as the team, composed mainly of black athletes, walked from their hotel to a downtown restaurant. They were followed and subjected to racial slurs by a driver. The harassment continued when they left the restaurant, with additional perpetrators joining in, revving their truck engines and continuing the abuse as they followed the team back to their hotel. This incident starkly illustrates that the racist attitudes fostered by groups like the Aryan Nations have not been fully eradicated and can resurface with alarming intensity. Despite efforts by many residents to combat this legacy of hate, including violent clashes with white supremacist groups and public denouncements of racist activities, Coeur d'Alene still grapples with the remnants of its past.
You know, there's always something to do. There's always excitement. I love it when you...
The community's ongoing struggle to move beyond its history of intolerance is a testament to the enduring nature of racial prejudices and the complexities involved in achieving true social equity. Coeur d'Alene's journey towards healing and inclusivity involves not only addressing these incidents when they arise, but also fostering a broader culture of acceptance and understanding. The city must continue to engage in honest reflections on its past, promote diverse and inclusive initiatives, and support efforts to educate its residents about the importance of tolerance and equality. In essence, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, with its historical ties to the Aryan nations and recent instances of racial harassment, highlights the persistent challenges faced by communities trying to overcome deep-seated racism. The city's ongoing efforts to confront and rectify its past are crucial in paving the way for a more inclusive and harmonious future. Number 2, Grants Pass, Oregon. Grants Pass, Oregon, a town nestled in the picturesque landscape of southern Oregon, holds a troubling history as a former sundown town. For much of its past, Grants Pass enforced policies that effectively excluded black people and other minorities after dark, a practice that was disturbingly common across many American towns in the early 20th century. This legacy of exclusion has left deep imprints on the town's demographic composition and social dynamics, contributing to its current reputation for ongoing racial tensions and incidents of racism. The racial makeup of Grants Pass remains overwhelmingly white, with 90.9% of its population identifying as such, and less than 1% being black. This skewed demographic is not merely a statistical anomaly, but a reflection of the town's historical and continued unwelcoming environment for minorities. Even in the early 2020s, those who march against racism in Grants Pass have faced heckling and threats, illustrating the persistent undercurrent of hostility towards anti-racist activism. Adding to this concerning landscape is the town's notoriety for white supremacist recruitment activities. White supremacist groups have been active in distributing recruitment posters throughout Grants Pass, blurring the line between free speech and hate speech, and challenging the town's efforts to move past its racist legacy. These activities not only exacerbate existing racial tensions, but also pose significant challenges for local authorities and communities striving to create a more inclusive environment. The town's name itself carries an ironic twist. It was named after Ulysses S. Grant, the Union general who played a pivotal role in the Civil War to end slavery. Yet, this symbolic connection to a figure of emancipation contrasts sharply with the town's ongoing struggles with racism and its history of exclusion. The presence of white supremacist propaganda and the threats directed at anti-racism protesters underscore a community grappling with deep-seated issues of intolerance and discrimination. Grants Pass has been thrust into the news alongside much of southern Oregon for these reasons, highlighting a regional struggle with racial hatred that is difficult to uproot. The town's efforts to reconcile with its past and promote racial equality are ongoing, but the road to change is fraught with challenges. The visibility of hate groups and the active resistance against anti-racist initiatives serve as stark reminders of the work that remains to be done. In brief, Grants Pass, Oregon, exemplifies the enduring impact of a sundown town past, marked by ongoing racism, white supremacist recruitment, and threats against those who stand for racial justice. The town's journey towards overcoming its history of exclusion and creating a more inclusive community continues to be a complex and demanding endeavor, requiring persistent efforts and a collective commitment to change. Number 1, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico, a city known for its rich cultural tapestry and diverse population, faced a harrowing series of events in 2022 that laid bare the undercurrents of Islamophobia within the community. In August of that year, the city was rocked by a string of brutal murders specifically targeting Muslims. For just 1 week, 4 Muslim men were killed, sending shockwaves through Albuquerque's Muslim community and instilling a profound sense of fear and vulnerability. These tragic murders not only highlighted the immediate danger faced by the Muslim community, but also brought to the forefront the latent Islamophobia simmering within the broader population. The targeted nature of these attacks prompted many Muslim residents to drastically alter their daily lives. Businesses owned by Muslims closed their doors, individuals avoided going out, and women in particular refrained from venturing outside alone, all in an attempt to protect themselves from potential harm. The investigation into these murders took a startling turn when the suspect apprehended turned out to be a Muslim himself. This unexpected twist did little to alleviate the fears within the community. Instead, it complicated the narrative. Rather than quelling the concerns, the revelation fueled further misconceptions and prejudices. Many non-Muslim residents began to generalize the violent actions of one individual to the entire Muslim community, exacerbating already tense relations and reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Muslim residents found themselves in a difficult position, having to defend their community against broad accusations of inherent violence. This situation highlighted the pervasive double standards often applied to minority communities. As one resident poignantly noted, when a white person commits a crime, it is seen as an isolated act. However, when a Muslim is involved, the entire community is often unjustly blamed and scrutinized. The aftermath of these murders in Albuquerque underscored the need for greater understanding and solidarity. It became evident that combating Islamophobia requires more than addressing immediate threats. It demands a concerted effort to dismantle deep-seated prejudices and promote a more nuanced understanding of diverse communities. For Albuquerque, these tragic events served as a painful reminder of the work needed to foster an environment where all residents, regardless of their faith or background, can feel safe and respected. To cut it short, Albuquerque's experience with the targeted murders of Muslim men in 2022 brought to light significant issues of Islamophobia and community division. The events not only exposed the vulnerabilities of the Muslim community, but also highlighted the broader societal challenges of prejudice and the urgent need for empathy, education, and inclusive dialogue to bridge these divides.
Well, what's my comment on this one? Some things will never change. You know, it's a wake up call. It really is. It just really is it's an eye opener that you see people feel like this for different groups of people, and that people don't want to change. And this stuff is here, is in different parts of Europe. America ain't the only place, as far as, but because right now Europe, England is going through something over there with the Muslims and other groups of people. They don't want inclusion over there either. So, but it mirrors America. Europe mirrors America in that sense. And it seems like when you have a certain demographic of people, it's like they're going at each other. And it's one combination of people who don't like these people, and it's majority of people who run the nation. It was so, and the only people that white people did get kind of get like was up in Alaska, but they was mistreated in other places on the West Coast, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington State. I mean, wow. And this is throughout the country. This is America. Race issue won't go away. There will always be nation against nation, nationality against nationality. This shows it right here. And even though that they try to bring programs and things like that, but look what it's done. It just keeps repeating itself over and over again. And when you look at the centuries that different groups of people had to go through this country, it's a repeat right from there to now. But we don't like to discuss about it. But it's the same kind of venom. It's the same kind of thing that we experienced in the past. But yet when it targets these marginalized groups, Just get over it. Just come on. Just I think we're better this and better than that. But in certain parts of the country, some people don't want to let race go. And it's majority of people who feel inadequate that think that their spaces get involved. And that's some white people feel like that. And you see how the past, I made videos that represent the, and who started it? Who went in there and threw people off their job and run them out? It was white people. White people did this. I'm sorry to say it. It's the truth. No other group of people did this in America to white people. White people did this. They did it to African slaves. They did it to Southeast Asians. They did it a different place. There's your truth. There's your proof right there. So when people say, "Well, I don't know why they don't like me," and I mean, I feel bad if you're white, but some white people made it bad, and they still don't understand the magnitude of it is. And that's why. And this, you go in other parts of the world, you find out that that's just because someone look like you may not have the same value, not have the insight, because we're so deep down in our subconscious see skin color, and if we're the same skin color, even though we can be different parts of Europe or whatever as far as white, but we're white against all of them. And some people may not feel like that. They look like, and you can bring some Russians and put them among ordinary people. You can bring Germans and different other people, and they look similar to the same with white people here. But white people here would think that all of them would think like them. Why? Because of skin. Some would think, not all, but some would think like that. Subconsciously they would think like that. That's why I said we do see race. And just like, blacks, we see when we get around other people that look like us ain't from some part of the world either. But you find out you're different. But everybody don't carry the same spirit when it comes to America. But America teaches, like other places, how to be divisive. Because if you may not see it, but your kids are going to see it. And it's a spirit that's in the land. This racism spirit in America been around for 500 years, 1600. And it jumped from almost how many decades? About 20 decades. It don't change. And it go from generation after generation in small towns throughout America. And this is trained in the children. This is trained. They know this stuff. So they get it among them, and someone teach others how to be towards the other people. Because children are born coming of age, so who's teaching them? So if you take it out of the history, there's someone's going to keep the history of that envious, that jealousy, that we must, and envy, jealousy turns to hatred and unaliving somebody. This is what it is. And if you don't get what you want, you intimidate people. Look what they've done. It's history, can't deny it, but look how it's coming towards, it's circling right back around in the present. Now there's other people taking up where it's left off. My last message, nothing new is up under the sun. Everything repeats itself. Time, decades, generation. Remember this. Alright then, take care, be blessed. See you on the next video. And like and subscribe. Take care.